Watch who?
Bonjour. What?
I wasn't expecting that. Bonjour.
Je m'appelle Mark et je suis fan de Doctor Who.
What? Have you just Googled this?
Yes.
I was like, where is this coming from? I can do Je m'appelle Sarah. My French is terrible. Je m'appelle Sarah. Not fan. Very first time.
Oh no, I was going to say, regardez pour la toute première fois.
Oh my God.
Anyway, okay. Ben feuille fois nos rejournées à Paris. Cette semaine, on parlait des villes de mort. Sarah, comment vas-tu?
Comment vas-tu? What? What do I think?
So, well, I said, welcome everyone. We're in Paris this week for City of Death. You join us. We're in a cafe in Paris.
Yeah.
Just having a coffee. Or what would you have? You wouldn't have a coffee. What would you have?
Chocolat.
Well, yeah. I mean, we are in France this time for our first overseas filming. But actually, okay, let's just do. What? What?
Perfect service. Like all the time we've been on a spaceship, anywhere in space has a class as overseas. Apparently, now we're in France. We're overseas.
Anyway, but before we get to that, what's been going on? What have we got to talk about? What updates do we have? I don't know if we have any actually.
Not about this. No, not about podcasts. In life we do, I think, but like...
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other... No, actually, we haven't really got much. Well, we were doing our baking Key to Time challenge.
Yeah.
So we've just been doing that. I have made the Key to Time out of cake, which is great.
I shared mine with my mortgage advisor, so he knows what that looks like. Shout out to Daniel if you're listening.
Maybe you can do that in the video, that story in the video. We can't do that on the main podcast, can we? Spreading the word about the podcast. That's great. I don't know what you think about this one, but I almost gave you a bit of a hint because I've written down, we need to bring back Sexual Chemistry Watch a minute because I haven't told you this.
Right.
Lala Ward, who plays Romana in this. We're in 1979, in about a year's time, back then, Tom Baker and her get married in real life.
Oh, okay.
And I was going to say, this is where we need to start Sexual Chemistry Watch for the Doctor.
The dating years, then.
So this is where they're first getting sort of together, and then they get married. So I thought maybe I should tell you that before, but then I don't know if you would have picked up on that, or maybe we can look out for that.
I don't think I would have. I was wondering, but this again is a bit of a funny one because they're quite separated. There are bits where they're together, but they're obviously in Paris. Generally, they're quite separate throughout the story. So this was a bit of an odd one again where I was trying to work out, does the Doctor like having a companion still? I feel a little bit more like he has adapted to having a companion and he has accepted that it's part of his story.
Well, it's not like Leela, where he was sort of fighting it for a bit.
I felt like last season with Romana.
Romana.
Who's Ramona? That sounds like a pizza. Romana. I feel like last season with Romana, that felt very comfortable. And that felt very settled. So I feel like now we're in the flow and it's a new companion, but it feels like he is... used to that and he's fine with that and he's accepted that helps the story and his character arc. And I feel like also the writers don't have them be side by side in the same sense. So that also helps in terms of his character. Like there's some independence within them. Chemistry Watch, now that you've mentioned it, maybe there is some nice sort of like there's a nice rapport between them. I just thought it was because they were in Paris and it was a bit different.
Well, they're all on holiday. This is where it starts.
Exactly. I mean, it's shot in Paris. It's definitely Paris.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you can tell it's Paris. Like, you can tell from the scenery and stuff. So, like, I just presumed that, like, the fact that it was just a little bit more fun, everyone was a little bit more relaxed. It's probably just a bit of fun for everyone, isn't it? So I just put it down to that, basically.
Marvellous. Absolutely.
Absolutely marvellous.
Well, I think it's marvellous.
So do I.
This is quite a well-known one. Like, lots of fans, this is like the best Tom Baker story. Lots of fans are like, this is the one that you need to watch. This has got such a high reputation. And it also has the fact that it's got the highest viewing figures ever for an individual episode. I think it hasn't even beaten the new series. So it was 16.1 million for one of the episodes, but the only reason that it's got 16.1 million is because there was a strike on and ITV wasn't being transmitted, so there was literally no other channels to watch. But that's why it's up there. So whenever they do like the highest ratings, it's got all the new series and stuff, and then like City of Death is in there just because ITV got switched off. So
So also, I was trying to work out, so John Cleese is in this as well, right at the end.
Yes.
Now, was this before or around the time of Monty Python? He'll have been in Fawlty Towers. It felt very Fawlty Towers, that character.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's what he was known for at the time.
I said Monty Python, but like, I'm thinking it of more,
And since it has no call to be here, the art lies in the fact that it is here.
That was a really nice surprise cameo, and I loved it. I thought, and that probably made me smile. I was like, funny.
And it doesn't say it's written by Douglas Adams, but the guy that wrote it is just like a fake name. It was like the producer and Douglas Adams sort of putting their ideas together. So it's got a high reputation for all these things.
I'm really jumping around with ideas here, soz guys. But one thing I really noticed in this is, because also I started watching the other day The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, the TV one?
No, the film.
Oh, we didn't like the film, did we?
No, I liked the film. You didn't. Remember, we were the other way around. And then you liked the TV and I didn't. Like, it just came up on Prime as I finished something else and then this came up as a suggestion and then it played. And then suddenly I realised I was watching it. I just had it on in the background. And what was really interesting after seeing that and then coming back to this is that sort of Douglas Adams stamp of his character, and also how much more money there was in terms of set and things. Because actually, I think in terms of like I'm really jumping around here, but like the very last scene when they're like back at the start of Earth 400 million years ago, that whole scene, that whole look is beautiful. On screen, I felt it looked great.
Well, it's a very simple set, but it's very effective.
Oh, yeah, but it's really effective. It's super effective, super simple. But like, even from that, they're quite far away when they run back to the TARDIS, and then you see the explosion or the implosion, isn't it? It doesn't explode, it implodes. All of that was super effective. And there was so much of it. I looked at it and I was like, I can see all the stylistic elements of Douglas Adams here. Having just watched the 2000s version of Hitchhiker's Guide, it was so similar in terms of stylistic, and yet they're so far apart in terms of years.
I thought you might like this because of the different like we like a different location, don't we? We like there's Paris, and then they're back in time, and then
I love
there's a bit of everything in this, isn't there? Future and I
enjoyed the. Ironically, which is something I don't always enjoy, but I did enjoy. We got to the third episode and it still wasn't 100% clear. We were given tidbits of big chunks of key info throughout. So, like, the end of the first episode, we realize he takes off his mask.
Yeah, that's a great
moment. That doesn't become relevant until, like, the fourth episode, but you get that really early on, so you're like, what does that mean? But nothing throughout, they're all just bits of info that then build up. And normally having no information for that long really annoys me. But I think because you got these chunks of info that meant nothing for a long time until it all was revealed as one thing. Like, I had one bit I'm really jumping around. Sorry. I had one bit that did frustrate me or I didn't understand. Actually, two, but they're sort of tied together. So one was, I think it was episode 2 or 3. It was 3. Or end of 2 into 3. So when the Doctor goes into his TARDIS and then goes back, and I was like, where did that appear from? Like, at what point did he go back to where was the TARDIS in all this? How was it just there? Or I couldn't work out whether it was something that had, like, in order to trick, that was something I struggled with. I was like,
well, no, because no, he's just the TARDIS. He just goes to the TARDIS because him and Romana obviously land where the TARDIS is in that gallery or whatever. But we first see them.
But they're nowhere near the gallery. They're in the basement just before it, and then because they're literally in the basement, and then he just steps out and he goes into the TARDIS. The next scene is him like out, and it's just him, and then he goes and walks into the TARDIS. They've just found the 5 Mona Lisas.
No, yeah, and then they escape because
yeah.
They escape, and then he says, Duggan and Romana, you go off and stop the Mona Lisa from being stolen, and I'm going to head off somewhere else. And you see him, he breaks in at night time to wherever the TARDIS is.
Oh,
and then he goes into the TARDIS.
I think because it happened so quick, I thought that it was like, I know I'm here.
No, you do see him go to the TARDIS, because he says, hello, K9, as you obviously don't see K9.
Yeah. That's the only sort of K9 appearance.
No more K9 again at the moment.
No.
We couldn't have K9 going around Paris, could you, really?
No. No. So that was one thing but you've explained that. The other one was, I thought we had a randomizer on the TARDIS, and it appears that the Doctor can decide to go straight back to Da Vinci and see him.
Well, I think he can deactivate the randomizer whenever he wants.
See, that wasn't clear to me. I thought they had the randomizer on to stop them being...
Well, yeah, I think the randomizer slowly gets forgotten very soon.
Very soon. We're only on like the second story.
Yeah. Well,
we're literally on the second story. So that was my other thing. I was like, what? How is he like being so specific? Like, because I actually thought that, and then when we saw the other guy, I was like, is this a mirage? Is this something he's created? Like, because we see early on how he like created them being in the
in the gallery. That's great, that effect, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was like, is this something that he's created? And that's how he's going to trick him? I was really confused. And that was like, that would explain why we're like here with Da Vinci and he's trying to trick the Doctor. And I was like, no, but the TARDIS is there and he wouldn't know about the TARDIS. And I was so confused for a little bit.
Well, I was wondering, no, it wouldn't have worked, would it? Because obviously we see he's Spaghetti Man at the end of part 1, don't we? Because I thought otherwise you could think maybe he's the monk or the master or something. Or,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. At least, they kind of had to do that, didn't they, to show that what he is.
So the actor that plays the Count, we have seen before. He was, do you know the one where Vicky dressed up as the boy? He's the king in that.
Oh, I mean, that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
You know, and the king and the sister, and they had that massive argument, and Vicky had to be the little boy.
Yeah.
He's the king.
Oh, yeah.
That's him. And the scientist.
Right.
Love this. The scientist.
Right.
It's Charlie the barman.
No way! Oh my god! OMG! I love that.
Putting on a terrible accent again, I suppose. But
oh, Charlie the barman! Oh, yes, yes, it is.
That is him.
So the catch was like, "What the hell is going on?" Right, it was just Charlie the barman, Mabel. It's Charlie the barman. Just explaining.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very dodgy accent, but at least we see him again.
I enjoyed the accent.
So we'll call him Charlie from
I
now
enjoyed
on.
the sort of dodginess of it, actually.
That opening is really great with the model of the shot. So we see this... Oh, God, I need to get these names right. What's his name? Skagroth. Hold on. I better get it right.
Scaramouche, will you do the fandango?
So we see at the beginning that spaceship and then Skaroth, and it's like, okay, what's going on? And then suddenly we're in Paris with the Eiffel Tower. It looks amazing. 1970s France, and you've got the Doctor and Romana basically just showing off. There's a lot of them walking up and down the street and stuff, which it's a bit of padding, but they want to show off they're on location. You know, when they're on the tube?
Yeah.
And I love when they get off the tube, there's this woman on the tube that's obviously just looking at the camera being like, what's going on? They've obviously just, like, stealthily just got a cameraman and Dr. Romana, let's just walk around Paris without permission, sort of thing. But it's great to see it all. And them in that sort of contemporary setting is a bit different. It just feels quite fresh, doesn't it? It's quite nice.
It feels really different and like you say, fresh. Fresh is the perfect word.
Have you been to France?
Yeah. Yeah, I do like it as a city to go to. It's nice to be able to go and explore.
Have you been on the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah. And I've done Disneyland in Paris.
Oh,
I like
cool.
Disneyland Paris because it's like you can do it in a day, and that's quite nice. Like I like that you can go. You could do like 2 days there and 3 days, but like you can do it in a day. Because I went. Do you not remember? I went to Angelina's and had that amazing hot chocolate, and I came back with some. I've not told. I told you this.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I went for. I took my ex for his 30th.
Oh, of course, yes.
So we did the Louvre. I saw Mona Lisa. Did all the museums. I did all that. And my only request was I wanted to go to this place called Angelina's because I read that it was like the best hot chocolate. And it really was. Like, it was basically like just pouring melted chocolate. It was amazing. But it was like in this old, like, if you think of Paris, like, when you think of Paris and you think of like an old Parisian, it was like this beautiful, marbly, and it was a cakes and everything, like all beautiful. And it wasn't far from the Opera House. It was like only a few streets away. And then you sat there and then it came in like this silver jug. And then you poured it into your cup and you got like two out of it. I don't think it was like, I mean, it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't really expensive. It was mainly just tourist. I think you could book like afternoon tea or something. It was really expensive. But if you were just going in for something like that, I think it was about like 12, 15 euros. But oh my gosh, it was so good. And then you could buy some to take home. So they had a shop and you brought it home and then you mixed it with milk at home and you could take some home. So I did that. I saved it for a bad day. I think I saved it from the middle of the Panto run, actually.
Right.
I was like, fuck this. whisking my Angelinas up.
Well, the cafe the Dr. Romana go to isn't as amazing as that. They don't have the hot chocolate. They just have like a glass of water.
And that's the other thing as well. I ate, most days, I had steak and chips because it was like the cheapest thing to eat. Like it was so cheap. Like food was so cheap. Food was cheaper back then, but like we didn't eat like we weren't too far out of the centre of Paris. Come on, we got like this hotel and there was like little restaurants around and I literally lived on steak and chips for like 3 days because it was so cheap. That's the other thing I remember, having amazing steak and chips.
There we go. Recommendations if anyone's going to Paris, you can visit the location of City of Death and have steak and chips. That's perfect. I mean, exactly. I've not been, but if you're talking about France, there was a French exchange at secondary school. Well, my friend Chloe, she did the French exchange, so there was this French girl called Audrey that came to stay with her. Okay, and what they do, they sort of match you up, sort of things you like, sort of hobbies and stuff that you like. And there was another girl called Jackie who was very studious, quite quiet, likes reading books. She was really nice, but she didn't really have that many friends at school. So she's doing very well now. She's a priest in London. She's like doing great. Anyway, and she had a French girl on her French exchange, but they were friends. The two French girls were friends, but the one that the studious girl got was like a proper like clubbing, like wanting to go out, like complete opposite to what she was given. Anyway, I remember we were out in Chelmsford in the town centre, and Chloe was like, "My French girl's run away." Basically, the two French girls had like ditched like and gone into town. And I remember this whole afternoon we were trying to find these French girls that had run off. Because we worked out that they got in touch with each other somehow. And this other one, that this sort of clubbing one, was like, I don't want to stay with this girl who's like wants to stay in and read and stuff all the time. So they made this plan to go out into town. And I just remember just trying to find. I don't know if we found her in the end or not, but I just remember the whole afternoon. I was sort of at base at the Chelmsford Library when
You were at base.
and then sort of we stood in. We were in like one place, and there was a few of us like, right, go out and search this area. Go out and search this area. Keep trying to like get in touch. So I think we did find Audrey in the end. We must have done. Yeah, I don't know what the point of that story was, but it just reminded me, whenever you say Fred, I just think of this French girl running away, being like, oh, I don't want to stay with these people.
That's so funny. Because I didn't do it, but like we did French exchange at our school.
They did. Well, they did one year. They did a Russian exchange at our school. I don't think they do that now.
No, they won't do it right now anyway.
No, because they did Russian. One person, I think only one person in school did the Russian exchange.
We used to have a lot of Chernobyl kids at school. Chernobyl?
Chernobyl, really?
Yeah. I don't
In what way?
know, like... So we used to do... Like, our town had like a charity set up, and we used to take in like 60 to 100 kids from Chernobyl every year. They came over for clean air. They lived in Chernobyl and they had to scatter, or like they lived around the surrounding areas. And because obviously the air was so bad, they would come over to us for like a term. And my town growing up, Clitheroe, I don't know if it still does, but when I was growing up, definitely had a big charity. And a woman at my church, she was a teacher at the grammar school, but she also spoke Russian. And she would go over there and like help. So like she'd go over there like as part of his charity work, and then they bring over literally, and like these kids would live with people like all over the town, like for like months, for like 3-4 months, so they could have clean air basically, and then they go back again.
So is the Mona Lisa
Tiny?
I was going to say, because the ones in this where he's got the 7 of them, they're not that big, are they? They're not.
No,
but
it's tiny.
But the one on the wall in this, that's still big as well, isn't it? And I mean, you wouldn't get near it. I mean, I bet it's like...
There's like, it's on the wall, and then there's like glass, like there's a whole chunk of glass around it. And then there's rope around the glass. You ain't getting anywhere near it. And you can't even get near it because there's so many tourists around it. It's deep of tourists, everyone trying to get pictures of it. And they have security around it as well. Like, it's so heavily protected.
I mean, maybe it wasn't as much in the 70s.
I reckon that in the 70s, they had the glass still. But, like, there's, like, you're coming up to it. You know it's there before you even see it because you just see so many people around it.
But, I mean, it's a good idea having the Mona Lisa in this. And just going back to the Doctor...
It's the ideal piece.
It's perfect,
isn't
it?
It's so famous. It's famous beyond itself.
The weird bit in this is where the man in the cafe is drawing Romana, and he draws, like, a clock face.
Yeah, that's weird.
That was odd, because the whole weird bit is like... Because the scientist guy, Charlie, is doing the experiments, and that's what the Doctor and Romana are, like, sensing, all those weird, repetitive bits. And the guy, like... Who just sits there and sketches and then just looks at you and then just like scrunches it up and throws it away? Like, it's so aggressive.
I thought that he was going to come back as being part of the party and he like knows something about them.
No.
That's what I was like, because obviously I was like, does he know that there's something to do with... I just found it a bit odd that it was a really nice idea in terms of like, they're in France, they're being sketched. Of course, that's so French, It's this French idea of the artist doing it, but it was just so odd because none of it we never see that character again. And where's that come from?
Because even if there was a weird thing in time, why is he sketching Romana with like a clock face? Like,
yeah, exactly.
That doesn't make sense. That's the only bit I think that's just like sense. I like the mystery of it, but it doesn't get explained.
The whole point of that was to show they're in France and people being sketched. I thought, actually, but because you're not really clear where they are in France until that point, until, later on. I thought that it was going to be some sort of sketch and it was going to be Romana, but it was going to be a really famous French painting.
That would have been cool. Oh my God, if she was the Mona Lisa or something, imagine.
Yeah. So like, or, you know, some sort of like really impressionist painting. And then we see that actually he used that sketch as Romana. Something like, I thought it was going to be something like that. I think the only point was they wanted to show that the clock had a crack in it and there was a fracture in time. I think that was it. And that they were in France to do something different.
What are you thinking of clothes watch of Romana's schoolgirl outfit?
I mean, it's very French of the 70s.
I mean,
because we're in the 70s, aren't we?
Yeah, 79. It's quite famous because she's dressed as a schoolgirl, and it's a bit like, why are you doing that?
I guess it's supposed to have been like some sort of like French chic look. She does look like a schoolgirl, but actually, I thought they were just trying to make. Because is she wearing a beret?
No, it's like a straw hat.
Yeah, I thought that. But actually, for me, it played more into this idea. I couldn't work out what time period they were in.
Oh, well, he says at the beginning, 79. It's supposed to be contemporary.
So it's supposed to be yeah. But then that's never always accurate with the Doctor. So I guess until we saw Cars later, I wasn't 100% sure of whether it was supposed to have been some sort of different time period. So.
And obviously, so they go and see the Mona Lisa, and there's a bit of weird. The tour lady's funny. I like her doing the thing. That's good. And then there's this whole weird thing. So you got Duggan and the Countess. Well, let's just talk about Duggan generally then, because he's quite a fan favourite, but he's a bit silly.
Well, he was a silly character, but I think it was needed in terms of the sort of light compliment to the story. I mean, and also what was nice about him as a character is he was very clear and simple.
I mean, yeah, he was. Yeah, you knew what you were getting with him, yeah.
You knew what you were getting. He was a detective. He's just trying to solve this mission, and he's supposed to be some sort of like, I don't know, rough cop sort of guy that like uses his fists to sort it out. That's it. Like doesn't understand all this mumbo jumbo. That's it. He's on his job. Uses his fists to get himself out of trouble. Like when he was like, I know what to do, and then used himself to batter through the wall, I pissed myself laughing. I was like, of course he is.
I mean, it's silly, and he's hitting everyone all the time, and he hits the count, doesn't he? He's like he's like smash.
Yeah, that's all he does. And it's weird because casting wise, I wouldn't have even put him as like that sort of guy. We've had like bigger guys. It was a really odd casting. It worked, but like for that sort of character that just hits the people.
But then it pays off in the end because right at the end when they're in prehistoric times and he knocks out Jagaroth, that's the whole story sorted because he hits someone. He just proper like goes for it. I love that. Yeah, he's funny. I think there was a little bit too much running around. I think he's when he's following them at the beginning and everything. And the Countess. So we've got the Count and the Countess. A bit of a strange couple because I don't know how long they've been together.
I have so many questions about their relationship.
She doesn't know. Yeah, I know. She doesn't know that he's Spaghetti Man. I
have so many questions about. If anything, I think it brought up more questions for me. I mean, how long have they been together?
Which they don't say.
Is she only with him for his money? Do they have separate bedrooms?
Well, is she like a...
Is his bodysuit everything? Does he have bits? Has she seen his bits?
Well,
I have so many questions.
We know when she's finding out, at the end, when she finds out about him and she goes to look through the Egyptian thing.
Yeah.
In that hieroglyphics, it's just the man and he's got the rest of the body because he's got like nipples on the Egyptian man.
That's true, actually. That is true. That answers that. That answers that question mark.
So she had. I don't know what so she has seen the rest of him.
He's answering this for me. I'll ask more questions about him, his sexuality and his body part.
Well, what if he has got the rest of his body and he just keeps the mask on then? Because it's obviously a good mask because he's wearing it all the time.
Apart from Charlie the Barman. Of course, Charlie the Barman spotted the mask. He said something about his face, didn't he? Of course, Charlie the Barman spotted that. Even with the terrible accent, he spotted that.
But yeah, maybe so. Is he a bit of... So, obviously she's there because he's a collector.
Also, right, here's something I don't understand. If he is the same thing throughout history, Why has he chosen the exact same face and mask?
Because I think there's 14, I think he says, but it's the same person, but he's splintered off into time. So he is the
Right,
same
but
person. They're connected,
but
you know. So he's
why?
not.
But he's not but he's the same person, right? Why didn't he choose different faces? You could, because he exists in the same. I mean, I get it in terms of storytelling, but I was like, I think I'd have wanted a different face.
Maybe it's just the same mask.
Well, that's what I mean. That's a long time. I mean, 400 million years is a long time to keep one mask. That'll be really smelly. Wouldn't she have smelt that?
I don't know. Well, I think he's just her sugar daddy.
I mean, yeah, I think so too. Also, right, his eyes, right? He has one eye, but he has two eyes and a mask. So how do his eyes move? Like, what mask? How is he making his eyes move? I'm moving my eyes now, and I can choose. I don't know. I'm fascinated by this. That technology alone, is like pretty good.
The mask stuff. I like the idea of them being the same person, splintered throughout time. Going
I
back
think
to the
I'd have
Egyptians.
preferred if he could have covered his identity rather than a mask. I think that's what I think. Like, if it was, you know how she had the bracelet. If there was something that allowed him to cover his identity, and that's why it was the same. Because
Like a
the mask,
hologram thing, sort of thing.
yeah, it was something that blended in with his surroundings.
He had spaghetti face the whole time, but so he wore like a bracelet so people couldn't see he had spaghetti face.
Yeah, so people could see that he was, or like his ring, because he had that ring on that did stuff. So maybe when he was wearing the ring, it was like a cover rather than actual mask. Because I have so many questions about the actual mask. Like, wouldn't it feel different? I mean, I'm thinking of human mask. Obviously, this felt like skin, but like, how long is it? It had hair, Mark.
I know,
Like,
it had everything. It was a
the
perfect human.
haircuts.
It was a perfect human face.
So did
that
he
put
have
on.
haircuts? Because he had different hair throughout history, but the same face. Like, I have so many thoughts about this.
And you see all the different ones. You sort of see the Egyptian guy. Going back to the
We only
Egyptians.
see about 4, and then when he said 12, I was like, 12? Bloody hell.
Did you know though about Egyptians? Right, I was listening to a podcast about Egyptians. I mean, this might be common knowledge, but it's blown my mind. I didn't realise, because you do like Egyptians at school and stuff, and you know it was a long time ago. I didn't, and we call them the ancient Egyptians. I didn't realise that they were so ancient. Like, it's the span of the Egyptian period is massive. Like, it's so massive that the ancient Egyptians had ancient Egyptians. So, like, this Egyptian king at the time went to the pyramids to see what his ancient ancestors from 3,000 years ago had built. So it's like between like the Egyptians and now, it's like the same as what the Egyptians and the Egyptians had, if you see what I mean.
Find a lot of things with the Egyptians fascinating because they were so advanced.
And did you know that with all the discoveries of Egyptian stuff and everything, only about like 10-20% of like Egyptian stuff has been discovered or found?
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was like 6,000 years. I mean, if you think like the last 200 years, like the advancements and stuff, they've had
we only
like...
think of 2,000, don't we, now?
Yeah, so 6,000 years was just the Egyptians. Just don't really think of it in that scale.
I want to know what happened after the Egyptians that stopped the advancement for so long of technology.
But then also, you know, when they find like, you know, Tutankhamun and go into the pyramids and the things, throughout history and stuff, because of that 6,000 years, a lot of those discoveries, there's only been one, I can't remember which Egyptian king it was, that had never been looted. Like all of the others that we found in like modern times have all been looted throughout thousands and thousands of years. So who knows what's been taken out of those things? We've never found it all because it happened in the Egyptian times they were looted back then. There was only, I can't remember who it was, maybe it's Ramesses or someone, that they say hadn't been looted at all, it's been sealed up. All the others, we're only getting the leftovers.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all down to, what's his name, Scaroth,
What
doing all
podcast
that.
is that?
Oh, well, it's this one, it's the Jordan Harbinger show. He does deep dives into he talks to different people, and he was talking to an Egyptian expert. He did one about almonds, did you know, like, almonds are really good for you, like a superfood. We're totally going off topic here, but...
Almonds. I
Almonds.
thought you said Oldmans.
Almonds.
And I was like, Oldmans, what's that? Like, I think, what is Oldmans?
It takes 1 gallon of water to grow like 1 almond, like the equivalent of like in California where they make them all. So
Right.
it takes so much water, and because it takes so much water, they're siphoning it from loads of poor areas nearby,
Yeah.
and the rivers are going down, and all the salmon are dying. That's just one
There's
side
a lot
effect.
of like environmental things around almond milk.
Almonds are an almond milk is 97% water with a bit of nut flavouring. You can't milk almonds. There's no milk you can get from almonds. It's flavoured water.
What was that Celebrity Big Brother thing? And she was like, I get up at 5 every morning to milk my almonds. Like, what was that?
I don't
Who was
know.
that? Oh my God, I've got to look that up. And they were like, you know what? You can just buy it in a shop. She was like, no, it's much better when I milk them myself. She was like, I milk my almonds. Who was that? Someone tell me. Who milks? I'm going to have to look that up.
Anyway,
But yeah, she was like,
so-
I make it myself and I milk my almonds. I've got to find it. I'll send it you.
Anyway, back to City of Death. Anyway, so he's gone throughout history, changing the course of almonds and the Egyptians and the human history and everything. It's all Scaroth's fault that he's been doing all this stuff. It's a great idea.
Well,
but no,
have you changed it? Or was he just part of it? That's...
well, it's sort of like a time circle, isn't it? I thought he was needing to get this technology. So by the 70s, throughout his whole history of his 14 lives or whatever, he's been sort of manipulating human history so the technology would exist to get this time thing so he can go back and stop himself.
Yeah. So I didn't think, because the other thing with Leonardo da Vinci, obviously, is his interest in technology.
I love how Da Vinci ties into it, because we almost had Da Vinci in the...
Mask of Mandragora.
Yeah, yeah.
So I love how that goes back. He perfectly fits
But he
again with the
loved,
Mona
he
Lisa.
was so interested in technology and like, I mean, like they even hold up that copy of like his version of a helicopter and stuff. So was it that he was trying to find people and push forward technology, and it just so happened that because he was with Leonardo da Vinci, who also painted the paintings, that he made several and therefore could sell them in his future self.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was like changing history. I think he was just part of the.
I think
He was just
pushing
at
it
the
on.
parts of it. Only pushing the tech, only finding the people to push the technology on, not like changing the course of history. Because I think if he was changing the course of history, the Doctor would have tried to change it. That it didn't happen.
But then it sort of does happen, because then he gets knocked out and he doesn't, and he goes off, splinters. So you could almost argue that if he has manipulated history, it would have happened anyway. I mean, we've had manipulating. I mean, what's his name?
Oh, but they did say that, didn't they? They said that because he didn't, therefore there weren't 5 versions of, and there was only the one left that said this is a fake.
Yeah. So it does go around. I mean, we've had that before. You know, scientists at breakfast were manipulating history, weren't they? Fendel
Yeah.
did all that, supposedly. So we haven't got a chance with all these aliens doing all this stuff, have we? But then I love the idea of going back and getting these 7, and that secret people would be buying this art, but you have to have the real one to be stolen. You know what I'm going to say. don't you?
I know what you're going to say, and very
Missing episodes.
There we go.
Some twatty Doctor Who fan, some bastard Doctor Who fan is like, I've got the only copy of Power of the Daleks, but I bet there's like 7 of them out there and someone's selling them around being like, I've got the only copy. It's exactly that. They want the Mona Lisa, they want missing episodes of Doctor Who. It's exactly that.
Sure. What did I say to that? Sure.
That's what it is, though. There are people, and I bet there are people with stolen art out there. I love stolen art, and like I've said before.
What, you love stolen art?
No, I mean like documentaries about it and stuff. You know,
Yeah,
these
there's a
ones.
really good one on Netflix, isn't there,
Yeah.
about the ones that are still missing?
Yeah, there's loads, and there's some good. There's one about the Mona Lisa, I think, because didn't they do a scan of it fairly recently, and there's like a draft underneath. There was like the hidden face of her. There's like a different version or something, or there's supposed to be several different versions. But it's perfect for a Doctor Who story, and I love how he does this as a fake, and what a great idea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was a...
Oh, sorry, but going back to the Countess and the Count, their relationship.
Oh, yeah, we were on that.
Because you think she's a baddie, don't you, for quite a while, and she's in on it all, but obviously she's not. She's just there for the art theft. And I don't know how he's explained like the technology and stuff to her, but she just thinks, oh, he's really clever and everything.
I think that's it. And I think that becomes really... see, actually, I didn't think she was the baddie. Because after the end of the first episode, because once he revealed his face, I was like, I think she just thinks that he's some clever person who has this technology to make them richer. I think that's all she thinks. And I didn't think that I thought she was only as bad as like, she knows that they steal art.
Yeah, I think so. Because I wouldn't put her in like the villain category.
No.
A bit like...
She's not a good person. She knows what they're doing.
I thought she was a bit like Lamia, remember? The one that was working for the Count Grendel and worked for Putin.
Oh, yeah, she's like that.
She's like a Lamia, isn't she? She doesn't really know. She is involved and she is sort of guilty of certain things, but she doesn't know. But I think she would do whatever for the Count, whether that be just because of the money or whatever, or not. Like, they've got that original Shakespeare and stuff. She obviously loves all that kind of thing.
And I think that's it. It's having those, it's just being of the means of having those possessions and treasures that they only own. In the same way that some people like that they're the only people that own certain things.
But it's sad that when she gets killed, though, yeah, you do feel sorry for her then. Like, it's a shame she gets killed. And Duggan knocks her out with a vase as well before then.
She'll have a great time.
You don't see that, though. You hear it off shot, don't you? And then she's just lying there. Yeah, I like how the whole story does take time to get through, because you don't really know until like episode 3 the actual full plan of it and everything that's going on. You do feel sorry for Charlie, the scientist, because he's just working. He doesn't know. And I love the whole chicken and egg thing. And
there was a lot of that where you're trying to work out, well, why do they want this? What is he trying to do? And it was interesting how he thought he was trying to cure world hunger. I thought that was an interesting take.
It's harsh that he gets put in the thing and aged down and that's him gone. I mean, that's a cliffhanger as well. He gets his own cliffhanger.
Like he did last time.
Yes, yeah, he does, doesn't he? The best cliffhanger in this, so I think, is episode 2 where the Doctor first goes back in time and then the Count comes out. That's a great moment because you're not necessarily expecting that he's...
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this actually has good cliffhangers throughout, because the first one's Spaghetti Face. The second one is that, which is a great one. And then the third one is Charlie.
In medieval times, or whenever, I thought of you because the Doctor gets a nice vintage camera out and takes a Polaroid of that guy.
He does, yeah. He takes a Polaroid.
But he leaves it on the table. That's out of time. He's changed history. What if someone finds that?
I know. Also, when has he ever had a camera on him?
I know, he just randomly gets it out of his pocket.
Just by chance. So weird. I mean, I guess he was in Paris sightseeing.
Oh, maybe he checked in his pocket.
It would have been better if we'd have seen him using the camera prior to that. It would have made a little bit more sense, because we've never seen him with a camera before.
No. And then meanwhile, when the Doctor's off, Romana does get her own bit where she has to... Well, she's been forced to work for the Count to do the time thing. But she seems very eager. She was just like, yeah, okay, I'll help you. There's no resistance there. There's no... Which is sort of a bit like Romana 1.
Do you think that sort of plays into like her lack of understanding of the universe? Because she does question it to begin with, and she takes what he says at value.
This Romana is much more chilled than the other one. But not in like a, I don't know the universe, just like, I'm having a great time.
I didn't think she was, actually. I thought when she was questioning, she was quite assertive.
She's more of a just happy to go along and take the Doctor's lead on a lot of jokey stuff. She's always sort of standing there next to him, like,
but I wonder if that's because the first time around, the mission did come more from their directive, as in their mission was very clear, and they had a mission which was the keys of time. Whereas this one, it's back in the Doctor's hands, and therefore there isn't the mission the same, and she doesn't know what's going on. Whereas, like, you know, okay, she doesn't know where they land and stuff, but actually she did. A lot of the first times she did know, okay, well, it's here. I'm giving you this information because that's my role. That's what I've been assigned by the White Guardian to do, is to assist, and therefore that is my role in this. But this time around, because she's chosen to stick around and stay and then change, but if she had, I don't think she'd have been like, she can't give information on things she doesn't know.
She has heard of the Jagaroth, though. She's like, oh, if I knew it was Jagaroth, I wouldn't have helped.
Yeah.
So she does know a little bit.
That's what I put it down to her, and it was the same with everyone. I just put it down more to her naivety of the universe and life.
Have you sort of accepted this new Romana now? Are you?
A little bit. This was a better story for her than the last one. There's a little bit more to it. There is a youthfulness to her, though. I don't put them in the same category. I don't think of them as the same person at all. And that's interesting because I always think as the Doctor is the same. There's some slight things, but there's so many things that are different in terms of what her role is now, what her position is, who's directing what she is. I'm not talking liches in the camera or whatever. I'm talking about like as a character. Where's her direction coming from? I mean, previously all she knew was Gallifrey and studying that. And there's still that sort of innocence, but you do get with companions, as in that's the whole point.
Still quite clever, so she can go off and say these things, and she still knows
and do that work.
But then you need your Duggan to come in and be what the Earth companion would have been in a way.
Yeah, I wondered whether. I think if he hadn't been as punchy, I wondered whether he was coming with them.
Yeah, people would love that. Yeah, people have asked for that.
I thought he was just a little bit too one-dimensional.
He was a bit sort of. I feel like he came out of like a comic strip or something. I don't know how that. I like a sort of.
I feel like he worked perfectly for the need of what the story was, but if you'd have put him in any other scenario, all his character was confrontation and I punch things. It didn't like have any other depth. They hadn't allowed for any other depth or development. There were points when he could have been more like even when they were on a visa plans, other than like, oh well, you know what? Oh, I don't want to. There's a lot of that very, I don't know, thing. Whereas they could have had more of an arc of him learning and like trying to sort of understand what was, and still be that same character, but sort of like, I don't understand this, but try and explain what is happening to me because I'm trying to, something. And I think that would have helped because he could have come on and that would have, but it was never allowed. It was just, what are we wasting our time here for? Come on. I need to punch something. Boom, I punched it. It was just so one-dimensional. It had no place for it to change or be anything else.
No, I mean, you can't imagine him on an alien planet with the Daleks or whatever. Yeah, and it does get we've said how it gets wrapped up going back to prehistoric times. There's a great sort of loop of everything going back to the beginning. It's a great structure of a story, I think. I think that's why people like it, because of the humour a lot. People like the Doctor in this. He's proper top of his game.
Doctor's great in this. He's on good form.
So you enjoyed it?
I did, yeah. I give it an 8 out of 10.
I mean, it's not like top for me. It's okay. I don't see how people think it's like the best Tom Baker story or the best.
Yeah,
the best
that surprises me because I wouldn't have said it was the best Tom Baker story. I think it's just different and fun, and it was fun. I think some of the bonds for the Keys of Time were better.
Oh,
it is a step up from last week for sure.
There we go. Get your theories in about the Count and what the rest of him looks like and all of that.
Can't wait to hear that.
I knew you were going to ask that. I knew it. When he's there in his suit and his alien thing. It's such a great image, but like, what? And he wears that dressing gown, doesn't he?
So many questions.
Well, there we go. Well, the next story is 4 episodes, and it's called The Creature from the Pit.
Oh, okay.
In the meantime, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at 2watchwho, and you can support us at buymeacoffee.com/2watchwho. And we will see you next week for The Creature from the Pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds pity.
Bye.
Bye.
Watch who?
Shall we take the lift or fly?